Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the great debate, NFTs and iGaming. I am the moderator for this session. My name is Fiona Hickey. I'm head of sales at Push Gaming, and I'm also one of the advisors for iGaming Next. I am joined by two what I would call industry veterans and longtime professionals of our space and experts. We have Stefan Kovach, who's the Managing Director of ThinkChangers, and we have Tim Heath, who's founder of Coingaming Group and also one of the partners at Yolo Investments. Guys, welcome to the panel.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you.
I would like to quickly start off by saying, before I started researching for this debate and panel, I knew absolutely nothing about NFTs. And as one of my kind friends said, it's NFCs, no freaking clue. So I think it would be really good if, after we do a very brief intro to you both, we also quickly summarize what NFTs are for the panel, or sorry, for our audience, because I think most of them will be similar to me. So Stefan, do you want to give a very quick intro to yourself? And then we can dive right in after Tim as well.
Sure thing. Yes. So I run a business called ThinkChangers. We specialize in kind of digital and blockchain consultancy with a focus on gaming and gambling. My background has been prior to kind of shifting into consultancy. I was CEO of a decentralized gambling application called Funfair, built on the Ethereum blockchain. So kind of 3 years of very hands-on experience, really at the coalface of blockchain technology, which was super interesting, super exciting. And then prior to that, about 10 years working with PokerStars, various roles within that organization.
You've done your time then, safe to say.
I've done my dues. Yeah, I've done my dues. And then prior to that, kind of internet startup since the late 90s. I'm giving my age away.
Perfect. Great. And Tim, would you like to give the viewers a little insight into yourself, seeing as no one's ever heard of you over the last couple of days?
No. Yeah, I've just sprung out of the forest like a mushroom. We started the Coingaming Group in 2014, obviously with Bit Casino, and then 2016 was Sportsbet.io. I would hopefully say the preeminent crypto-based gaming operation in the world, with a huge amount of experience on delivering that fun, fast and fair experience. The key USP was simply we could pay winnings out, whether it be €1 or €500,000 within 1 minute to the customer, which as a former poker player, that's what we'd always, what I always wanted as well. So crypto for us was simply the rails of how we could transfer and accept a bet of a trusted unit of value. And then if someone wins, we can pay that out very, very quickly. Since that, we're still obviously growing very, very nicely, but I've taken a step forward into running our VC fund called Yolo Investments and having a lot of fun getting back to that kind of entrepreneurial spirit as opposed to a corporate organization. And I think we've made...
bet you are. Every time I have a call with you, you're on the road somewhere new looking at some more exciting things. So I feel like Tim's just living the dream and just having a great fun.
Kid in the candy shop.
Took 20 years to get there, don't forget that. But
exactly. It's been a lot of hard work that's gotten you there, for sure.
We've made about 70 investments now, about 300 million assets under management. And our focus is clearly in the iGaming sector, in the fintech sector, and also the crypto and everything crypto around that as well, and how we build an ecosystem around what's going on with the Coingaming Group. So a lot of fun, and obviously NFTs are they're popping up in all different places at the moment, and people looking for investment. A very hot asset, one would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that brings us to it. So guys, this is a debate. It's going to be slightly more lively. I'm going to jump in and interrupt you guys probably more than most moderators do, because we want to make it engaging and educate kind of people as much as we can in terms of where they're not overly up to date in them and where they should invest if they are going to invest. But first of all, let's put this aside. So we have Stefan, who is very pro NFT. We have Tim, who is pro NFT, but is very much talking about iGaming and how we continue with NFTs in our space. So not a traditional opposites in terms of the debate, but definitely you guys have opposing views on some things. So I think it would be really great if we could start by a quick 30-second cap on NFTs and actually what they are. Tim, do you want to jump in? I know Stefan normally does this, but I think it'll be good for Tim to do it for a change.
I'll have a shot. NFT is it's a non-fungible token. Basically, one would consider it to be a digital asset, of which you can certify the authenticity of that asset, digital asset, So it's unique that it cannot be reproduced, or you can trace the certification of the asset on the blockchain. And of course, then you can apply a value through simple market economics that I have an asset that someone wants to buy, and that will determine a market price for it. And normally they're bought and sold through decentralized marketplaces.
Cool. And Stefan, as someone who has invested heavily in NFTs and loves looking at your portfolio on a day-to-day basis, you want to talk us through kind of what you have been looking at recently and kind of some of the NFTs that you've bought as examples for the listeners?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I'm slightly less interested in the art side. I'm more interested in kind of the collections and the collectible assets that are out there. So I'm very fortunate to have a CryptoPunk, which I bought last year. Should have bought more with hindsight.
Want to tell everybody how much you paid for it, Stefan?
At the time, I thought I was being silly. It was several thousand dollars. It's now worth probably, I think it's come down a little bit, by about 50,000. So, and CryptoPunks are kind of unique, I think, in that they were the first. They will always be the first, so they're kind of the caveman drawings of the NFT world, and that's why they kind of, I think, will hold value kind of moving forward. And obviously we've seen them being sold in Sotheby's in New York and London, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that's kind of one end of the spectrum. There's many other much lower value NFTs out there. So I collect something called Avastars. Avastars is a really gamified, and there's a random component in it. In fact, it's kind of, there's some really quite clear analogies to gaming and gambling actually within that collection. And then there's lots of gaming assets you can own, you can even create as NFTs. So I kind of focus more in that area of collectibles. I've also got some of the NBA collectible stuff. Rather than the art side.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, so when I was kind of looking into this and talking to some people within our business, we kind of looked at this, the collector's route. We all know how popular streamers are within our space, and streamers love something unique. They love merch, they love a giveaway, they love a prize. And what we were talking about internally is whether there could be something of creating unique collections as a studio, for example, like us, a push creating things that could be released to streamers or released to players for winning certain things. Do you think that is something that will be adopted within our industry and will be something that people try to look at to engage with the audience directly a little bit more? Tim?
Which wall do you put an NFT on?
I mean, yes, so of course, NFTs obviously are not going to sit and hang on your wall. But I think visually, if you're a streamer and you're presenting, you can probably have a collectible in the background that people can easily see when you're on stream.
Yes, but my fundamental issue with this is, what do you actually do with them? Is it based on an ego that you've collected something of which has a certain amount of rarity, and that defines its price? And it's nearly, and I go back to the poker playing days. It was all about ego, and I'm playing full tilt on the nosebleed stakes, and people knew you for that. I think if we look at trading cards, back in the day, we also collect trading cards from Australian football or from soccer or whatnot. That's something where the NFTs of limited supply can be used, but simply buying digital artwork that is very easily reproduced, it's only really for you to know yourself that this is rare and you have the number one, the original one. I believe NFTs will come into a space when it's got utility, when it can be used to track a lineage, when it can be used to do something useful, that enables something else to happen. So by all means, if we could look at something within the streaming world that if you win something, if you get a collectible as a prize, and then can go and do something, and you can prove your ownership of that collectible, which enables something else, I think that then becomes a very interesting scenario. And then that experience which could come from it could be bought and sold as well, and you can track the authenticity of it. That's maybe where it can evolve to.
I get it. I would slightly disagree with you. I think a streamer having something that's unique from a studio or whoever is no different to you having those football jerseys signed behind you. We can all see at the moment. So it is very much about what people put a price on, what's unique. But absolutely, I agree. I think what would be really interesting for people to understand is your opposing views on how you guys think it's going to shape iGaming, because NFTs are very much popular within the art world and within the collectible sector. What do you feel is the best adaptation of NFTs within our space? particularly for operators? And how do you see that moving over the next 5 years? Stefan?
Can I just, before answering that, can I just disagree with Tim? So
Yes, of course you
on
can.
the
Always.
art world, on the art world piece, look, there's clearly a bubble, right? And there's a lot of nonsense out there. But fundamentally, what is happening, crypto brought the ability to transfer value between two individuals in a trustless way anywhere on the planet. Okay, that is phenomenal. Okay, it's a phenomenal technology and a phenomenal breakthrough. And as Tim correctly said, NFTs now enable us to certify authenticity and ownership of assets, not just digital assets, physical assets as well, which has never been done before. It's equally mind-blowing what that actually means. Now, from the art world, sure, there's always bubbles. I think, blockchain, because it has its own cryptocurrencies associated with it, is even more prone to bubbles and booms and busts, right? And the industry doesn't do itself any favors. We are clearly seeing a bubble when it comes to art, but I think we're also seeing a fundamental shift in the art world, which is enabling a creator economy. Right, it's enabling artists to no longer be dependent on art dealers or galleries. All of a sudden, I can issue my work directly, proving it is my work, it's authentic. I can create scarcity in it. I can monetize digital assets. We lead increasingly digital lives, right? And Tim, you're right, you can't put this on a wall. Well, you can if you've got a digital picture frame. But we're not the next generation. The next generation are already living in metaverses, right? They're living in games on Web 2. They're going to be living in Web 3 metaverses, and they're going to be showing their art in virtual galleries. So I think, what we are seeing with the art world is a fundamental shift. It's just very frothy at the moment, and that will clean out.
I mean, the art world is pretty bizarre, seeing as somebody just managed to sell an invisible sculpture for tens of thousands during the week. So I think we'll move away from the art world and focus back on iGaming and kind of have a quick kind of focus again on where do we see NFTs benefiting our space? Because ultimately that's what all of us really care about on this panel. How is it going to benefit iGaming, and where are the best adaptations of it going to be?
Just before I get into that one, I'm just looking at CryptoSlam.io at the moment, and the number one NFT traded site today is the Bored Ape Yacht Club, where you can buy and sell digital apes. Then, of course, you get NBA Top Shot, CryptoPunks, and So Rare is coming in at number 5. What worries me a little bit about this marketplace, or bubble as we call, I know So Rare, they're currently raising $400 million at a $3.2 billion valuation. They're already profitable. Why do they need to raise all this money, and what are they going to do with it? They work with 135 football clubs around the world to create merchandise which is authentic or certifiable and authenticated. So conceptually, it's really, really good idea, but I think there is a massive bubble in there, and I don't know what, unless they're going to acquire other things as well. But the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that's my favourite one by far.
I mean, I
think maybe this is a transition, like you're saying, Stefan, to a metaverse, that this is not for the people from yesteryear to understand exactly what the people of the future will want, and will actually get quite excited about this type of thing.
It's also a very small group of people that we're talking about. It's still a very nascent piece of technology, right? And there are some inhibitors, I think, which are being overcome, but user experience, right? The reason that NBA is so successful is because it's custodial, it's fiat. People are not paying for this in crypto, right? So it's not really the true use case for NFTs, but it's great user experience, and people want user experience more than anything, right? But the user experience of non-custodial NFTs will catch up, and I think it will catch up very quickly.
And bringing it back again, you two both love going off in your tangents and arguing with each other, but we will bring it back. Where are we seeing this adapting in gaming, Joe? If you were to look at how we're going to do this, what are we going to see in the next 3 years, and how is it will it even benefit our space? Why do people need to be so aware of NFTs and what they're doing and how they're evolving? What will it change? What benefits is it going to help with in our industry? What problem will it fix?
So the one I'm most excited about is a digital horse racing one called Z.Run. It's based out of Australia. They've created 4 Genesis horses, and they breed horses with the lineage, which you can then have all the data about a horse, and you can breed horses which then run around virtual horse races.
Which is going back to the thoroughbred history and how all thoroughbreds came out, obviously.
Correct. I predict, a bit like Evolution is the biggest casino in the world by number of tables, this will be the biggest horse race in the world in the near future. Completely digitalized. There'll be odds on all the races. There'll be bookmaking. There'll be live streaming. There'll be sponsorship. There'll be prize pools, and it will all be bought and sold using Ethereum, probably using MetaMask. And people will buy and sell and run their own stables, their syndicates. They'll have jockeys. It is.
I have to admit, I was hugely skeptical when you told me about this, and we talked about it a week ago, because I am a huge horse racing fan. But then I have to admit, I got sucked in. So as someone who is quite a skeptic, I would agree with Tim. I think that this concept is cool. And I think it's only the first one that we're seeing, right, Tim? There's no way that this couldn't be done for greyhound racing or football teams, etc., etc.
Well, right. I think it's a bit like if you start looking at CSGO, you've got the data there controlled by the computer program. So the data provision, don't need a courtside anymore to get updates from television or courtsiding. Everything is done in real time. And this horse racing, it's provably fair. You've got the horses there which have different data points. You can set odds on it. People can watch on Twitch this horse race. You can buy and sell different horses. You can win prize pools, the sponsorship. They've just announced that you can now buy a race course. So you can actually own the race and have your own card for the day. This is where NFTs, where you need to be able to guarantee the authenticity of those horses through that lineage, this is where this comes into play, and this is what I'm most excited about. That's coming across to Formula One. It's coming across to basketball. We're working with a group in the US called SimWin, which are amazing Hollywood type graphics who are doing exactly the same, where you can buy your own franchise, your own courts, buy and sell and draft players. Anyone can have ownership in them, and then they'll play simulated matches going forward based on the data profile of the virtual player.
And we've already seen that virtual sports has a place in our industry, so there's no reason why this wouldn't grow even more, because there's obviously more ownership there. Stefan, you look very skeptical. What are your thoughts?
No. Tim's doing a great job for me. I'm happy for it. No, I think
disagree. For your point of view, is there a space, particularly within the casino side of our industry, where you think that NFTs will become more popular, whether it's through rewarding players or adding value somewhere? What's the adaptation that you would love to see happen over the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think in game studios are sat on an enormous amount of IP. Okay, and they can look at now creating ownable assets out of that IP and either integrating it into existing games or creating new games. And they can also add utility into those assets. So not only are you getting a character, maybe you have a slot game which is actually made up of NFTs, right? And you're winning NFTs, you're winning assets within the game, which then you can use maybe interoperably across other games. And they also have utility in them. They might have bonuses. They might unlock other levels. They might give you money can't buy access to events or other things. So I think, I know the film studios and, the big IPs such as Disney, etc. I think the gaming industry has those IPs, and it's a matter of being creative and understanding how to unlock that and thinking very differently, right? It's not about owning it. It's about giving ownership to the players and what they can then do with that. So I think there's enormous potential there. I think that. Go on.
Do you think that there is a benefit for us to overcome some of the over-regulation that we're seeing? So I'm not talking about not having unsafe practices, but for example, if a player was to go to an online shop for their studio or for their operator, and similar to how they would buy a bonus feature, but now they can purchase an NFT and swap that NFT for 10 free spins. Do you think that that's a good adaptation of NFTs within our space, and how easy is it long term to actually have it work with the tech resource it would require?
I think we've seen the great example of the CSGO cases and how popular they are in that sort of younger demographic of, not obviously post-18, hopefully, but in that younger demographic of people, CSGO cases and how they've taken on a whole new world. And you buy and sell skins on guns. And that, in essence, is an NFT. I don't know. I think it's a centralized skin, but if that could move to a decentralized platform such as NFT, you've got a whole secondary marketplace there, which will increase the adoption of the usability and the entertainment factor from that gaming venture. So I think it's a net positive for the gaming industry. But it's interesting, I had the Premier League reach out to me the other day, obviously through our sponsorship, saying, Tim, we want to do NFTs. What do we do first? And there's a complete lack of
where do we start?
knowledge. There's a lack of knowledge around how this is going to evolve. And I'm just worried about bad actors coming in and trying to push an agenda which is simply nearly somewhat Ponzi style, as opposed to having proper organisations who have a clear plan of what they want to do. And you're so rare in your top shot, obviously, are taking that professional approach to NFTs and trying to leverage it there. I'm just worried about those nefarious actors coming in and trying to scam people in the incorrect way.
And it is something that we need to focus on, the responsibility aspect of it, and the fact that we can't have it being exploitative within our industry. Another aspect that we need to look on is, I guess, the environmental effects. Is it as negative as some of the crypto side of things that we're looking at, or what are your thoughts on that side of things, Stefan?
I think on Ethereum, there is there is an environmental issue there, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. But there is a lot happening. So actually, there's a massive shift over to layer 2s. Matic has become very popular. Matic is like 1/100th of the energy consumption of Ethereum. You have a whole series of other blockchains that are now going into, mainnets are going live. And again, they are a fraction of the environmental impact. So I think it's an unfortunate short-term side effect of Ethereum.
But I think Ethereum it's like everything that we've ever gone through throughout history. If you look at anything, when the first cars were created, when we first started with fossil fuels, I mean, this is just a new technology. It's a new thing, so to speak, that we're bringing into our lives. But everything started off, and then we improved on it over time. And it's about having the longevity enough to be able to do that.
Look, it's interesting. We're just invested into another company doing carbon credits and putting carbon credits as an NFT, working with farmers, and then having people who need to offset their carbon credits, creating a marketplace to buy those NFTs, which obviously you can guarantee the authenticity of where they've come from in the farm. So, I mean, perhaps we need to think about how do we use this technology for the green or the energy efficient, or to try and actually utilize it for a better purpose rather than worrying about what the mining processing costs and energy costs of mining Bitcoin. But don't forget, it's 10 years old. Credit cards were first taken in 1950, 70 years ago. We've got a lot of evolution, and the adoption curve is going to be absolutely rapid, and it won't go backwards. So we need to obviously keep an open mind about this, but also how do we apply the technology to the full rounded circle of the economy, not just where it might be bad, and create FUD.
Absolutely. I think what would be great to now focus on is for the listeners, many who have not invested in or kind of looked into NFTs. If we were to talk, say, if we were to give you both the budget of $100, what NFTs would you buy? Would you buy more than one? Would you buy multiple of the same ones? If we're talking to, and we're not, let's have a caveat, this is not investor advice to the listeners, just so everyone's protected. But if you had $100 and you wanted to play for fun over the next couple of days and really kind of start dipping your toe in the waters, what would you buy and where would you hold it? And let's start with you, Tim.
I'm buying an ape from the Big Ape Yacht Shop.
You're buying an ape. Okay, you're buying an ape.
And I'd be using my MetaMask app or browser extension. I'd be paying with Ethereum, and that ape would be connected through into my MetaMask application as a collectible. But in all seriousness, I'd be buying more horses.
Okay, so Zedrun is the place for people to check out. And actually, guys, I did this myself. When I started researching for this panel, I was absolutely a novice to NFTs. I had to Google what NFTs was. I'm not going to lie to anybody. So when we started, I looked into Zedrun, and personally, I found it really interesting. I like it. I personally like horses, but I think that people would enjoy it as well. So for anyone else kind of having a listen, I definitely suggest that you take a look as well. Stefan,
what are you buying, Stefan?
What am I buying? Well, my advice would be buy something that you like, right? Or that you think you're going to use, first and foremost. Forget the financial side in terms of return. If you get one, great, but don't expect it. I think NBA Top Shots is if you haven't, you should do it, because there's a drop, I think, going on tonight. It's about $10. It's fiat. You can use your credit card. Just if you want to dip your toe in the water, they are, the leading edge in terms of adoption and the user experience. So it's definitely worth looking at NBA. I suspect there'll be many, many others coming along, both in the sports franchise world and other industries as well, which will be equally as slick. And then there's not much out there in the gambling side, which is a shame. And I hope people are looking at this within the industry. Gaming, I think the gaming world is fascinating. So I would look at things like Sandbox. Sandbox is a Web3 metaverse where you can buy land, you can buy assets, you can create assets, which are NFTs. And then you can use them in that virtual metaverse. And there's lots of other gaming kind of applications with NFTs, which are cheap, or you can earn them and you can actually use them.
And I think as well, I mean, 10 years ago, we were all kind of starting to dip our toe in the water when it came to crypto. And I mean, I think all of us wish we'd bought more Bitcoin and held onto it for a lot longer. But I think it's for people to understand and for people to learn about NFTs, the best thing is to do kind of by start off by buying and just having a little fun with it and not over investing, but just having a little bit of fun with their friends and coming together as a group or whatever. But I think this is definitely something that is here to stay. And hopefully over the next 5-10 years, it becomes part of our industry, because we have been slow to adopt some other innovations and interesting technology. So hopefully we are starting to get to a place where we're doing that quicker. There's been a question in from the audience. Fan tokens or NFTs? Who is going to win the race here, guys?
I don't know, Stefan. You probably know better if fan tokens are they're a cryptocurrency itself. Perhaps, yeah. I do believe having that sort of trading card mentality is probably a good way to do it. But the fan tokens actually let you buy shares in a football club, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, I think fan tokens are quite specific. And Tim, you're right, it's a cryptocurrency rather than NFT. So I think there's probably scope for both, but I would be much more bullish on NFTs because I think they've just got much wider implications and use cases.
The scalability, I guess, across multiple industries and multiple sectors is obviously far, far bigger.
Yeah. And what I love about it is you do have that decentralized marketplace. So OpenSea.io is one of the main marketplaces where you can go with your Ethereum wallet and you can buy and sell digital assets, and you don't need any notary or transfer agent or probably an oracle to help with the transaction. But we are decentralizing that buying and selling economy, which is great news, and I think it's only going to continue moving forward.
Fantastic. Quick one, Tim. Are you a little bit jealous of Stefan's CryptoPunk?
He should be a little bit jealous of my horse racing syndicate, I think. Because
I mean, I don't think it's too late for him to buy his horse racing syndicate on Zed.
I'm tempted to get a horse, I have to say.
What we want to do, we're buying a lot of horses for the Sportsbet syndicate, and we want to now let our punters invest into our syndicate, which we'll manage and race around the world and obviously provide odds on as well. So we want to bring our punters closer to Sportsbet brand and part of the clubhouse. And we feel it's a really good engagement tool for our punters to be a part of the journey with a sportsbook through our syndicate.
Feel like part of the story.
100%, yeah. So that's where I see the leverage from a gaming perspective, being part of that journey.
And I think we're always looking at new ways of creating a better user experience and loyalty and retention and bringing people into the fold. And I think that one theme that seems to have come from everything both sides have said is that definitely seems to be a way to adapt it into our space and look at it from that point of view, which is really interesting. Stefan, are you jealous that Tim's going to have apes and horses and racetracks, etc., etc.?
Of course.
It sounds like a farm as opposed to anything else.
No, I might have to go get myself a horse. And then I can race
I feel like everyone's going to go and buy themselves an ape after this conversation and just see what happens, create our own little zoo with them. Okay, guys, we're coming to the end of our panel. If we could give kind of one takeaway, one soundbite to the listeners from both of you in terms of why they should look into NFTs more, why they're here to stay, particularly in gaming. If you can just give a quick soundbite. So we'll start with you, Stefan.
Yeah, so what I would say is, look, be curious, go out there and explore. It's a very new technology, and what's important isn't the technology, it's what you can do with it. So I think, as an industry, I would think, what are the problems that I face, and what opportunities can this technology give me, my customers, that I can't do now? And it's quite, as with all things blockchain, it requires a bit of a different mindset. Okay, so I think nobody has answers at the moment because it is so new. But go out, explore, play, get hands-on. Don't be shy
curious,
about.
I guess.
be curious and go out and do some stuff.
Perfect. Do some stuff. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Stefan's soundbite. Over to you, Tim.
And for me, it's the Premier League, the NFL, the NBA, the Australian Cricket Board, the BCCI. Every major sporting code in the world is now looking seriously at NFTs and what they can do. So my advice would always be ahead of the curve. Be curious, be ahead of the curve. So when the opportunity knocks at the door, you have your plan ready on how you want to bring it into your world, whether that be gaming, whether that be horse racing syndicates, whether it be paintings, crypto punks. Be a part of it and be ahead of the curve always.
Perfect. Awesome. So be ahead of the curve from Tim. Guys, this has been a really insightful panel and debate for me, and I hope it has been for the listeners as well. Hopefully we have many more conversations on NFTs as they evolve over the next 6 and 12 months short term, and then even longer. But guys, it's been really great speaking to you today. And I'll say goodbye. Thanks everyone for joining. Take care.
Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Go the apes.
Bye, guys.